say what's up, Headspaces. VJ, the brother from the ancient mother. Another installment of South Africa's most prolific hip-hop podcast. Yes, I said it is the Headspace. And today we're having a conversation that I said it off the record. It's long overdue. Hip-hop has many elements: graph, DJing, breaking and graffiti, rap, which extends into music, and through music comes the production. We've never really spoken about these people we regard as the beat makers, the producers. Is there even a difference? Is a beat maker a producer? But my point is, that case in the background as usual. Yeah. But I want to kind of center the conversation by saying we appreciate the rappers, but we do not often think about the fact that the canvas that they work on is something created by a group of people who have a talent and an understanding for what the world is and how to interpret that into hip-hop form. I'm with Isaac Wilson. Let him introduce. What's up, bro? What's up, family?
I'm doing good, man.
Yeah.
Isaac Wilson, Temple Polo, Isaac Jacob, Wilson, Kamali Timer, so I had to join it with Isaac Wilson. First of all, I'm a fan of hip-hop, fan of music, and then I happen to know how to basically produce. Sometimes I rap and sometimes I mix people's projects. So I exist in different realms of hip-hop, so I would like for us to have this conversation.
Now if you don't know the claim to fame, we're gonna definitely put all links in the description. Isaac Wilson, formidable producer / MC who in the Eastern Cape has really done a lot of work. I know you said manga introduce it, but I feel you didn't do yourself justice. Everybody who stands next to me on this seat, Sibabeka, because of the work they've put in as practitioners of the culture. But without raving so much about who you are and what you've done, production. We were talking off the record about what makes a good song. And I think that's a very perfect place to start, because hip-hop is basically a middle-aged elder, but still it's coming into a place where a lot of movements are coming out of hip-hop. Trap is an expression of hip-hop. Some say trap is a part of hip-hop. Many know I don't agree. This is not about that, but it's about trap or hip-hop, hip-hop or trap. What do you think are the fundamental principles of a good song, sonically speaking, before a rapper even touches the mic to interpret what a beat is to them? The beat in and of itself communicates something. So talk to us about that.
Basically, I'll put it in this way. Food companies like the I'm Loving company, they don't sell burgers or food. The reason there's always yellow and red, yellow makes you hungry, or red makes you hungry, yellow makes you happy. So they're selling you happiness via the food. So that's why when they do these commercials, they always try to make sure that they show happiness. So that's what production is. You don't sell. Anyone can make a song, but what makes a good song is the feeling behind it. If a person gets happy after a song and you want it for them to basically go through that, or it makes them angry or sad, basically you need to have an emotion after hearing a song. That's why you'll find out that on good projects, when you, especially now in the streaming age, you'll find that a project, the number one song or the single and the first song of the project, they always have high numbers, and then the others will have lower numbers of listening. That song basically dictates the feeling of what's going to happen throughout the album. It needs to introduce the feeling. So now, the closer the numbers that are on the lower side of the album, the closer they are to the first song, it means that this is a good album.
Right. Okay.
Compared to them looking at the I like referencing albums because that's what I always listen to. I don't listen to one song.
Let's do it. It's all hip hop.
Yeah. So you always look at the difference between the first song and the rest of the songs, besides the single. and then look at the number of streams, and you're like, oh, flip, they found something that relates throughout the project. And people are fans of that. They want something that takes them back to a certain feeling when they first bought a car, when they first did this, when they first did this. And that usually happens between the age of 15 and 25. That's when you decide which type of music that you want to listen to. And then when you basically now get into a realm now where you are producing, it's either you become a servant to the artist. I like to call them designer producers.
Okay, designer producers.
Yeah.
Or you want to elaborate on the designer producer a bit more?
And there's fringe producers.
Okay.
Fringe producers are the ones that listen to what is hot now, and then they basically do that, and that's the way they end. That's the way their spectrum is. They don't have anything that they bring. They're like, okay, this is the top artist, or this is the top 10 artists. I can mimic the producers that produce those songs, and that's the only thing that I stand on.
That's fringe.
Yeah.
So that's fringe.
And then there's the
designer producer.
The designer ones are those who are intentional with what they are doing. They know why they put that piano there. They know why they put that drum there, why they picked that one drum, or why they mixed all these 3 drums in order for that sound to come out, because they wanted you to feel a certain way when you hear that at that specific space.
That's amazing. I love that. See, this is why we had to have Isaac Wilson on the headspace. I hope you write those 2 titles down while we speak about it. So I like that. Let's go into the designer producer.
Yeah.
You said something like very profound, fam, about how referencing this major food company, that the yellow and red plays into people's emotions.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's subliminal.
Yeah.
It's a person's knowledge of the deep things that influence how people feel.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, are you saying good producers are people with an understanding of what kind of notes or structures or synths or whatever it may be affect people?
Yeah.
Is production an art form that relates to, it's not just making music, it's being able to cater to emotions? Is that what you're saying with that analogy?
Yeah.
Okay, no doubt.
The 808 is destructive, a log drum makes you more happier.
Woo!
Jesus, I didn't know that.
That's exactly, see, that's what we're talking about. Beneath the theory of the music is experience.
Yeah.
Every note has an emotion. So I love the fact that Isaac Wilson is touching on that, because a lot of people don't get that, fam.
Yeah.
Rightfully so, because they're listeners.
Yeah.
And it's people like you who have gone into the behind the curtain because of the love, and you've explored the fact that no man, this is really an art form that deals with the depths of what people are feeling.
Yeah.
So when I'm producing, what I'm actually doing is I'm kind of producing an emotional canvas.
Yeah.
I'm creating something for people to feel, and what the MC does is maybe they interpret that verbally, and they give it words, and they give it emotion, and they give it a language, so that people can take what they already felt, and now it has a hook that they can sing along to.
Yes.
So no doubt. So in that relationship, the production, as you said, is being able to tap into people's emotions and translate that sonically.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that the canvas of a beat, because rappers will hear what they hear, so do you think when a rapper hears a beat, is it important for them to understand what the producer might have intended? Or is the beat, do you believe that sonic speaks so broadly that rappers can hear something that channels into what the producer intended in the first place? So I want to go into that relationship with how we interpret the music that we hear, because hip-hop is a music of words. It's practically the only genre where words really take the forefront most of the time. The quotables, the double entendres, you name it. There's an element in hip-hop where it is also about what a rapper's doing. So how important do you think is the relationship between the MC and the rapper, and how do you view that kind of thing?
Depends.
Okay, talk to me.
Well, I need to tell you, okay, I'm gonna tell you this, Producers are self-centered. self-serving,
Right.
manipulative.
We have this on the record, folks.
Yeah, that's basically what happens. Like producers.
Now we know what your producers are up to. Yeah.
That's why you'll get a producer. After they do that song with the artist, when the artist comes through again, they bored. Artist comes in, hey, I want to record. This guy's like, okay. And he's never excited throughout the set or the recording because he got that song. That gratifies him.
Yeah.
Now he's bored of this artist and wants to move on to another one.
Because
he heard another canvas or whatnot. So that's why artists need to have at least 3 producers that they work with and not one.
Hope your artists hear that.
Yeah. So there's those type of producers, and there's producers that are basically slaves to the slave ones are the good ones.
Okay.
But now they won't challenge the artists. They'll always cater to what the artists want. And they'll to be seen as a one-trick pony.
Okay.
Yeah.
Isaac is breaking down a lot of important things. Fundamentally, he said there are designer producers and there are fringe producers, which I felt was really important. These are the people who dictate why they make the sound in the first place. There are those who follow a trend, and there are those who are simply following an emotion that they feel the audience can relate with. Now, he's coming with another class that is in session. He said there are producers who are self-centered to the point where what they're interested in is creating what they want, and they get bored with the artist after they've done that. And there are slave producers who really are just subject to the machine, who serve the artist because I guess they need to survive.
Yeah.
So in this next segment, we're going to really talk about that. Let's talk about the producers who are still slaves to the general artist in the system, and those who are kind of still following their heart. It's the headspace. So you've broken down the designer and the fringe producer, and now you're telling us about how producers tend to be selfish, but there's also a branch of producers who kind of enslave themselves. Break that down.
So there's disadvantages and advantages. Yeah. So it's not necessarily theirs. Okay, maybe saying a person is self-centered.
Manchester United, yeah, loser, guys. It's an exciting times. Yeah, let's go into it. Yeah.
So having like a producer, a producer that is selfish. It's not necessarily selfish. It's that they're emotional. This person puts so much into this that they see this as a song, and the artist is just an additional instrument in what they are doing, or the lyrics that the artist basically drops is just something that is a branch of what they are trying to do.
Right. Okay.
So they have a grand scheme that they're trying to portray, and in most cases you'll find that the producer always wants to hear the vocal palette of the artist that they're trying to work with. They'll want their work before. They always have categories. They'll say, okay, this vocal texture works well with the piano. This vocal texture works with a guitar. So sad beats will work with this person. Funny said the artist doesn't really resonate with the beat, but this guy, he trusts the producer to basically make that decision and say, yo, this is gonna work on you, and it eventually does. So you have those types of artists, and you have artists that say, yo, this is what I want, and that's where they butt heads most of the time.
Okay.
Where the producer now will do what the artist is saying, but they won't put their all in it. Because they like, okay, this is what this person wants. Because, okay, let's say, you know, in most cases, artists always want boom clap, bass line, main melody, repeat. They want that groove.
Right.
The groove. If they can get a groove that can make him kick a rhyme, that's enough for them. That's why there were a lot of people that were lyrical based back in the 90s as compared to now. Now, producers are trying to be more complex, more musical, and they're trying to take it to jazz, because you'll find that a producer now, there's teams of producers where now I'll basically do the drums because I specialize in drums, and I'm not really sure about my piano play, and I'll call another guy that plays the piano and say, please add this melody but make it a bit more complex.
Right.
And then they'll build a song, and then the artist will just bring it all together. They'll be the glue.
Let me interject there for a second. Are you
Yeah.
saying that we are in an era that favors producers a little bit more in terms of their artistic freedom than we were in the 90s, where producers might have been churning out hits, but it was still a rapper's era?
Yeah.
Are we, I don't know, let me ask it like this. Are we in the era of the producer?
Yeah, but I feel like it's reaching its peak now. And we're going back to bare beats again. Groove, bare beats, repetitiveness, loops. And we want to hear what the person is saying. I think that is because people are being spiritually awakened now. We are getting that generation that asks questions. I feel like with the luckiest ones, 85 to 95. Because,
Millennials.
yeah, we basically saw analog and the peak of digital.
Yeah.
Like we saw everything changed in front of us. And it happened while we were awake. Like we saw phones switch.
Progress.
Yeah. We saw
From communicating machines to your whole life.
we saw vinyls.
And we saw CDs.
cassettes,
and now we're in
Cassettes and streaming.
Yeah.
We're seeing it Bluetooth dying out. Like we never thought this was going to happen.
Who remembers infrared?
Infrared.
So
Sorry, I always have to bring that up.
we were the first to ask questions. When they're talking about sex tapes, they're talking about all these things that push boundaries and ask questions to the older generations. We were the ones that did that, and then the 2000s are the ones that are actually now asking the questions. They're not going by the side about things. They are actually direct about it. Okay.
Confrontation.
Yeah, they're confrontational.
Confrontational generation.
And this is where now lyrics will matter more.
Right.
Subject matter will matter more. Affirmations will matter more. Fighting for our land and whatnot, and it's basically
all these ideas are coming into the forefront.
And then when it's like that, producers are going to fall back. You'll find artists working on simple beats, 3-step beats, and it's just that, and then bass line, and then we go.
You're touching on something very important. Jeez, this thing is going to directions I never thought.
Yeah.
Very, very important mark there on the evolution of production in relation to the eras that we're in.
Yeah.
And you mentioned how we might be in the era of the producer, but you say it's starting to fall back because now, what is this? What, Gen Z? Gen Y?
Gen Z. I think it's Gen Z.
I'm at 2000s,
Yeah.
and we call them, are starting to really confront the heritage of what they've come into.
Yeah.
How does that play in to pop culture? Because the dominant understanding is that what pop culture attempts to do is that it feeds and translates music for entertainment. So it's music that can be reproduced mainly to be sent to the clubs, to the shipins, to Ikhonj, you know? Music for people to kind of go to these places where they get to forget about the questions and the answers and just enjoy life.
Yeah.
So the emphasis on hit making, the emphasis on simple songs that are just about enjoy yourself and treasure your life.
Yeah.
How does that tie into what you're talking about? How do you think this will affect the culture of clubbing and Yongalendo Yenzegayo?
Clubbing will die down. People will go back to parties. It'll basically come back again.
Yeah, these are cycles.
Podcasts are new songs. Like people listen to what people say now more than what they used to do. So the beat doesn't really matter now.
Okay.
It's only a few beats that are gonna be anomalies. So now producers that are egotistical or emotional or self-centered or these ones that care too much about the music are not really going to matter now. It's only the fringe ones that are gonna be hitting.
So what you're saying, the selfish producers will probably have a niche now.
Yeah, they will have a niche market.
Okay.
The beat tapes are not going to sell. It's not. It's
Did
basically.
beat tapes ever sell though?
See, that's a very important. That's
Yeah,
another
to an
issue.
extent.
Yeah.
But I'm saying I would say house is a beat tape. Like a house album is a beat tape.
Is a beat. But let's
okay, let's not deviate.
Let's go into the context of hip hop.
So what I was saying was
just for a moment.
Yeah, what I was saying was popular culture now. It's not necessarily going to be popular culture. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Like the majority is going to rule the trajectory of where it goes for the next 5 years, and then it's gonna go back to the select few that have figured it out. Whenever there's something that is being introduced, well, now it's AI. Not a lot of people understand AI. There's a select few that basically run AI, and they're gonna push this agenda. In 5 years' time, we would have now been living in this AI world where a lot of things are going to be doing things for us. That's when now algorithms will be working in their favor and not in ours. Now they haven't figured it out. It's a free for all now. That's why your TikToks are popping and whatnot. So spaces like YouTube, Google, Facebook, they're gonna come back during that time. But now it's gonna be Twitter, TikTok. So that's why I'm saying now, people that really care about the beat side of things, because beats in hip hop are sort of, they give a rhythm. They usually are what comes with the artist. But
yeah, the formal term is an overture, where it's a sonic platform for somebody to move through. Yeah.
So now we basically, I would say, what happened with trap, it was an emulation of disco, but into hip hop now. The way we're saying now, we're removing now the fact that this guy can just rap better than this guy. Now they can pick a beat, they can rap better on this. This was well produced. This is a nice. He makes better albums. So now there's more boxes to tick.
Oh, okay.
And now natural rapper didn't matter for a long time. Up until now, the youth got to speak again, and it was not record labels. Record labels lost the power to speak on what's the next hit and whatnot. They can only pump in money, but it's not gonna really.
They kind of never really had the power, because if you notice how pop culture always observes the underbelly of what's going on in culture. So I guess to conclude this conversation, you've taken us through what production is, how it filters into the system and the politics of the eras that go into times. You've given some bold predictions on what's yet to come based on what's happening right now. So I actually want us in this last segment to kind of address two things. If producers are such an important, vital part of the sonic texture of hip-hop, is there a possibility where the rapper at some point can be stripped and we are in a pseudo-house place where people can learn to appreciate beats for beat's sake in the hip-hop context? And number two, if not, in these cycles of rappers going from blending into the beat and being in the forefront of the beat, what do you as a producer feel is that magic thing that in both contexts still makes a song great? Because there are songs that have outlived times that we still dance to today, from the 80s, from the 90s, from the mid-2000s, that beat part of their time still live on. I want you to talk to our subscribers and maybe you give your take on what that secret element is. So we're in that journey, and these two fundamental questions. Is it ever possible in the context of hip-hop to strip the rapper away?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hip-hop got people, gave them a feeling. I won't say just hip-hop, I was just saying music in general. It's a feeling. Hip-hop, rock, jazz in its infancy, they have a youthful spirit about them. And that's something that's not going to end, because there's always going to be a youth, and they are going to dictate what is going to happen moving forward. So we look to our youth to see what is going to happen, and then we nurture that, and we just school them, and then try by all means to ensure that whatever they do remember what this was before what they are basically hearing, so that they can be a timeline attached to it and an identity throughout. Yeah, well, I can boldly say Afrobeat and our piano are basically new age hip hop.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, really?
This might be controversial.
Controversial.
Might be.
but
Because it's gonna talk about people were talking about how Sete is not even a hip hop song.
Now it's look. Can I interject there because we've spoken about this on previous episodes that there's hip hop and there's rap.
Yeah.
Hip hop is a movement, and with hip hop there are some pretty definite principles of what determine how the sound moves.
Yeah.
Hip hop is rooted in sampling, and I do feel that where hip hop began is it took from what was before and it reinterpreted that. So the hip hop spirit for me is really fundamentally about songs that sonically capture you in the moment, but are also rooted in the past because they take from elements of the past and they reinterpret them. So I do think that with hip hop must, and this is VJ's understanding, must come the idea of breaking the beat up. Because remember, the break beat gave birth to the rapper. So we wouldn't even have rap music if it wasn't for DJs being able to see that you could take advantage of the spaces between a song and create a whole song from a moment, and that moment becomes its own life where MC can interpret. So when people ask me what hip hop is, I always keep that definition close to me because I feel that not everything that involves sampling is hip hop, but I feel that hip hop always involves some level of sampling because it's about a reinterpretation of the times through the youth message. And I love the fact that you mentioned that through every cycle we have a generation that determines its own course. So I do feel that hip hop is particular and it gave birth to a whole lot of things, but before I kind of turn this into a whole other conversation, I want you as a producer to kind of give us the insight of, you've already clarified that you think we can live in an era that is rapless, where the producers start to take forefront again, where people can dance to a hip-hop producer's song without feeling the need to hear some bars or some verses that make the song come alive. But how does that tie into a great song? There are great songs in every so-called genre and era that speak to us till this day, from both the hip-hop context, from somebody who's produced hip-hop songs, but also just a general musical context. For artists out there, what do you think are the key elements that make a song that transcends its era and is able to touch people and become what today is an overused word, but we'll use it, a classic?
It's based on what was happening at that time, how people were feeling. It's basically feeling. I'll take songs that are basic that live in opposite ends of the spectrum. There's Dear Mama. There's Protect Your Neck. Both are classics for different reasons, and both came out around the same time, or basically around the same era. Protect Your Neck basically gave a youthful spirit. Dear Mama basically gave a youthful spirit, but it's a young guy that is saying, Mama, I understand. So it's like a person doesn't wake up and have the same feeling from morning up until night. If they're walking on the road, they would like to listen to something that is a theme to what they are doing. If they're going to beat up a person, they need something that is going to assist them with that.
With that energy.
Yeah, put on drill. If they want to go to the gym, they'll put in a song that is going to allow them to do that. And then if they basically now going to work, they need to prepare themselves because maybe they don't necessarily like
want to go there.
But there's a song now. It's either they relate to the song is by an artist that doesn't like what they are doing, And the working slave ship and I made shit. Or there's a song that's work, like a trap song about working, or like, and then now you come back and you want to unwind and you're listening to some soul sounds to just put you in a mellow mood so that you can go back to the premises and you just vibe out. So every song has its own impact in a person's life. And now there's that window that I talked about between 15 and 25. If the grand majority around that time, that was around that age, felt something towards a song that was big at that time, not necessarily big because the song might actually blow up in 10 years later because it might relate with the following generation.
Slow burners.
Yeah, so it's feeling. I was not necessarily, but based on what I heard, Tupac, he resonated with people, but his music really hit after he left. According to what I heard, like people really liked his music after the death because they now understood, oh, this person had depth to them. They looked past the controversial things that were posted about him and whatnot. So sometimes there are slow burners, but the song has to.
Could you say the same thing about Ricky Rick? Do you think a lot of his music would and will and has now gotten some more attention because now we realize the fact that the focus on this life and the varieties of the things that he did now live with us in ways that are more powerful because he's not around?
Ricky Rick is a great example because that's basically what feeling is. If you would take a Ricky Rick song and give it to someone else, a peer to him, like a KO or whatnot, it wouldn't have hit the same because they are not Ricky Rick. It's a feeling, it's an energy that he passed through, that lived through his music.
Right.
So it has to do with feeling. He was there's something I want to clear out just before we close this off. There's a producer, there's a beat maker.
Okay.
A producer is a person that directs where the song goes. Usually it's the guy that pays for everything. That's why record labels always own the content. The person that records owns the masters, and the person who paid for the recording
is the producer.
Is the producer.
Okay.
Or the person has the final say on where the song goes. Because now you might record it, and it might start with a verse when you record it. And
so the beat maker is the one who made the actual beat.
That's the beat. But the producer will come and say, hey, I don't like this horn at the beginning. I would rather have it at the end. Take this verse, scrap it.
Isaac Wilson giving a lesson. Talk to us if you agree or you disagree. So does that mean DJ Khaled a producer?
Yeah, he is a producer.
I knew it. Talk to us and
and people don't want to hear that shit that DJ Khaled is the because he directs.
That's why I love you clearing this up, but go on.
Even artists like
can be producers.
Yeah. I have an artist I worked with, King Joe.
He gave us a
shout out to King Joe.
A classic. Yeah, we call it a classic, right? A 10 out of 10.
He's the executive producer. He made the decisions.
Also, you're saying on that project, you guys were beat makers?
Yeah, we were beat makers, and he would basically give the final say, I like this, I don't like this, take this out, do this, do this. I need this as number one. He did the track listing. He was the executive.
So, are you saying a producer doesn't have to know
how to make
actual art of making music, but they just kind of are in charge of structuring the vision?
Yeah. I would say, yeah, it's kind of like, it's basically that.
Controversial, talk to us. Talk to us on the
Jesus Christ, this is going somewhere.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
But now this is where beat makers become producers, the self-producer.
Right. So if a beat maker is able to say no, I not only want to kind of sculpt the sonics, I really feel that I have the insight to tell you how this should go and to be able to give you consultations on how this works with your voice and how that would go.
Yeah.
So, okay.
So I'll give you an example.
Sure.
Smash Beats, Kanye West, Pharrell, they can be producers because they can basically take on like
whole
the
project,
whole life.
Shout
of
out
the
Mash
song.
Beats.
The whole song, the final product.
What about Zuchi?
And Zuchi can do that as well.
Sure.
He's a producer. You can't say Scott Storch is a producer. He just makes beats and then Dre makes the final decision. He's the producer.
Right.
So Dre is the producer, not Scott Storch.
Sure.
Not 88 Keys because Kanye makes the
Metro Boomin.
Metro Boomin can be a producer.
Yeah.
He can be a beatmaker. It depends.
Okay. This is very interesting. This definitely needs a part 2.
Yeah, we need a part 2, yeah.
And we don't have enough time because possibly on the next episode what I want to ask is, has this always been the case? Has the producer, beatmaker,
Black label, eh?
hey,
Yo, I mean that shit. Brands that don't wanna pay us.
we faded Kamnandi. Has the producer, beatmaker dynamic always been this way? Or is these definitions are an evolution of how music is now being structured? You don't have to answer that right now. What I'm more interested right now is, because you've told us that, tying into a great song, you speak about feeling. So does the technical skill really matter? At Oceans at a certain time, where if I'm listening to Weekend Special today, was there something special that Blondie Machene and the band understood to make that particular melody a melody that can live on till this day? Or was it just the feeling is able to translate into a way where the artist blends with it and it just all connects? The song resonates, having a good time. Brenda interprets that into you having a good time, but it's at my expense. People relate to it, and that's how it lives on.
Yeah. Sister Bettina had no technicality.
Jesus Christ, Sister Bettina.
No technicality.
It's a great example. Yeah, this is
feeling.
When Sister Bettina comes on, you feel some type of way. You wanna party.
I like this. Thank you, Isaac Wilson, for sitting with us and talking with us. I really do.
No, we need a part 2 for this.
No, and I know what the part 2 will be. Is it feeling, the relationship between feeling and technicality?
Yeah.
Because I do think that this still needs a little bit more explanation, because there's people who can play music, and then there's people who listen to it, and how that relationship between the notes that a guitar player chooses, and whether those notes in themselves are embedded in a certain kind of emotion that a person can understand, or do you have to have a mediator in the form of an artist to interpret what an instrumentalist is
Are you saying
to the audience?
You see,
In all hits, there's an ignorant person that gave the crucial part of the song.
let's end
the part 2.
let's end the episode.
Isaac Wilson, it's been a blessing talking about production, the evolution of culture, how that ties into the way we listen to music and what we like. A lot of us might think we like what we like because we like it, but what I can learn from what you have said is
Yes, manipulators,
is
guys.
that we like what we like also because of what's going on in the era that we live in. If you understand your times, it brings them back to like an ancient saying. The man makes the time, but the time also makes the man. So to be a little bit more ungendered, the person does make the time, but the time also makes the person. Especially because we're a hip-hop podcast. Hip-hop is the time making you without you understanding where the time is at, or are you truly cognizant of where we are sonically, culturally? Because Isaac Wilson is giving some good lessons. If you enjoy and you agree with him, talk to us in the comment section. And even if you don't, that's even better. We love the engagement, we love the discussion. VJ, the brother from the ancient mother, Isaac Wilson, last words?
Hey man, yeah, feeling. Just feeling. If it makes you feel good, it's a good song.
It's the feeling, and we out.